Today's video is sponsored by Figure, the largest non-bank home equity loan lender in the US, with over $15 billion unlocked on their lending platform. They're now in the crypto-backed loan space and offering industry-low interest rates when you use your Bitcoin as collateral to get cash. Access interest rates starting at 9.9%, the lowest fixed rate in the industry at 50% LTVs. Whether you're funding a major purchase like a down payment on a home, investing in new opportunities, or even buying more Bitcoin, Figure makes it straightforward and transparent. Visit figure.com/Real Vision or click on my link below to take out a Bitcoin-backed loan with Figure today. Hi, I want to talk to you today about my friends at Bitwise and why they're the best crypto asset manager out there. I've talked on the show often about how crypto is reshaping everything from finance, portfolios, and even macro. Everything's ramping up. We've got tailwinds in DC, interest from TradFi, and growing optimism. But smart investors see all of this and focus on the how. What's the savviest way to seize this moment? And that's why so many investors I know are working with Bitwise today. They've been all in on crypto since 2017. They're OGs. They've got more than 30 products to help investors like you get access to whatever they need or want. They've got a team of more than 100 across the US and Europe, and they have over 10 billion in client assets. You know, a lot of people know Bitwise for their ETFs, how they manage the world's largest crypto index funds and the wide range of crypto ETFs they have. But not as many people realize, Bitwise manages private alpha strategies too, and has SMAs for large investors, and is one of the largest institutional Ethereum staking providers. They really do everything. These guys are true OGs in the space, and they're good friends of mine too. So please go and check out Bitwise. They're really excellent. Go to bitwiseinvestments.com and see all that they've got to offer. That's bitwiseinvestments.com, or just email them at james@bitwiseinvestments.com and let them know that Raoul sent you. Anyway, there's a million ways to access crypto. Explore how you can access it best with Bitwise. And remember, carefully consider the extreme risk associated with crypto before investing. Anyway, thanks so much. Hi, I'm Raoul Powell, and welcome to my show, The Journeyman, where I travel to that nexus of understanding between macro, crypto, and the exponential age of technology. Now, as you guys know, I wear many hats and do many things. One of the things we do on Real Vision that you guys don't get to see, or certainly if you're in one of the free tiers on Real Vision, you don't get to see, and that's a show called Raoul and Julien Shooting the Shit. And it's exactly that. It's you getting a chance to look over Julien, Bittel, and myself as we kind of go through our process of looking what's going on in markets and understanding what this means for all of us. It's a fun show, it's a relaxed show, it's a casual show, but there's usually a huge amount of alpha in it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share one of those for you so you can see behind the paywall the kind of things you get at Real Vision. So you get a deeper understanding of my views and Julien's views, which I know you like. Now, if you do want that deeper understanding, we've got a special offer on right now, which is you get 3 months free subscription to Real Vision extra on top of the subscription that you pay for. So 3 months free just by going to realvision.com/3 months free. And this way, you'll really be able to supercharge yourself in your financial journey by having this whole group of experts to help you understand it, and also the experts of the crowd. We have an incredible platform with amazing conversations happening, and there's an incredible amount of trade ideas too, where people really do try their hardest to generate alpha for the rest of the community. In fact, we've got a trade ideas competition running right now, so you can see how good some of these people are, and some of them have been absolutely amazing. So anyway, enough about Real Vision. Let's go and look at Raoul and Julien shooting the shit. I hope you enjoy it. I'm traveling this week, so I thought it's a nice way for you to see behind the paywall. Now, bear in mind, this was recorded about 2 weeks ago at the end of May. So obviously some things have changed, but you'll get the idea. We can't give away all the alpha immediately. Join me, Raoul Powell, as I go on a journey of discovery through the macro, crypto, and exponential age landscapes. In The Journeyman, I talk to the smartest people in the world so we can all become smarter together. Hey everyone, welcome to Shooting the Shit with Raoul and Julien. It's always fun because we're catching up. I've just got back today and I'm over in Little Cayman, so Julien and I actually haven't caught up, so we're just going to catch up. and you can get to listen in. So you put out MIT last night. Go through some of the basic stuff because we need to go through this for GMI later anyway because we've got to ride GMI this weekend.
Yeah. So let me pull up the Prez. Do you not watch the video? What's wrong with you?
Mate, I'm so bored of you.
That should be the first thing you do in the morning is MIT. It's on. Are we sharing that yet? Not yet, huh? So I think some of the just very, very high level stuff, I'm not going to go through the grid. I think the only thing that we really need to cover is that basically things are now going according to plan. And this is not updated from yesterday because during the presentation, 2 of the regional PMIs came out. We're still waiting for Chicago tomorrow. But if we just take all the others and you put them into this chart, this white line is significantly higher. So the rebound that we were expecting, as I showed you yesterday, Dallas came in stronger than expected. This is all going. You remember when I was calling?
Yeah, why this matters, right? This is the driver of alt season. This is the driver of a lot of things. This whole ISM pickup story, which everyone's been wrong-footed on because everyone was like, no, it's going to go to zero. We're going to have a recession. It's awful. And we've been saying the opposite.
Yeah. And so all this data is just beats. It's like beats. And so now SESI's, exploding higher. And why this matters, as I had said in MIT, which of course you didn't see, which, okay, is that like we had, apart from the late,
I have better things to do. I had to wash my hair, maybe cut my fingernails,
laundry, all those horrible things, wash dishes. But we had just like on the way down, we had to reprice. Now we have to reprice stronger growth momentum, right? So I think that this is really positive. And obviously this is just heading higher into the summer months. Not going to go over financial conditions, but I think the only 2 charts we really need to talk about, or that we probably care to talk about. By the way, it's so funny. Look at this. This is GMI financial conditions versus trueflation. I'd been saying that the numbers are going to bottom. Then I got the email from the head guy there. What's his name?
Stefan.
Yeah, Stefan. And he said this was on the 20th. So this was last Tuesday. And look what he says. Inflation is climbing. So the craziest thing about this is that, well, who needs trueflation if you've got GMI financial conditions?
Now, financial conditions is bond yields, the dollar, and essentially oil or major.
Well, it's not, it's commodities. So basically what I did is it's a regression basically on the ISM, and then I put it on other things, but you have to take the basket of commodities. So oil, copper, but what you do is you regress on the residuals of the regression to avoid multicollinearity. So it's several different commodities, but some are weighted more heavily than others, and oil is one of those.
Now, it came off a lot, right?
Yeah, it came up.
What impact's that going to have? That's the impact that it's going to have on global M2. Ever wish you could access cash without selling your Bitcoin? Ledn makes that possible. Ledn is the global leader in Bitcoin-backed lending. Since 2018, they've issued over $9 billion in loans, and not a single satoshi of client funds has ever been lost. Here's what makes a Ledn loan different. With a custodied loan, collateral is not lent out to generate interest. There are no credit checks. Funds in less than 12 hours, no monthly payments, and repay whenever you want with 0 penalties. And they just don't talk security, they prove it. Ledn offers proof of reserve reports, verified by a top accounting firm every 6 months. Ledn is 100% focused on doing one thing better than anyone else, giving Bitcoin holders a secure and transparent way to unlock liquidity without selling. Learn more at www.ledn.io.
That's right. And so what's interesting about that, I was looking at it this morning, is that we have the same chart versus Bitcoin, right? 3 month on 3 month. So the 3 month rate of change, which is not in this pack. But that top point there, or the high, is actually August, which then stacks up with the V, which then stacks up. Sorry, I had a lot of charts in this pack.
Really, that's surprising. You generally are quite light on charts.
I know. Which I think then stacks up with this, right? Because this is not, global M2 here is not updated for the dollar's recent move higher. And I actually think the dollar may head a little higher here. I'll show you that chart in a second. But if that's right, then this top bit in global M2 will come lower and should set us up for that corrective phase, which that other chart also matches. And as I pointed out in MIT,
but financial conditions leads M2, right?
Financial conditions leads M2, but here you're talking about the rate of change versus, remember, it was that whole thing of the everything code dominoes. There's a bit of a difference in the lead versus rate of change versus outright. And so basically what here they would line up to say around August, we should see something, but we have to see, right? It really depends on what the dollar is doing. Because if I just shift.
But we're expecting financial conditions to continue to ease, right? Because we think there's another leg lower in the dollar. We think rates either stay flat or move lower.
Yeah. So that's right. So, but if we just skip back up here, I'm going to come back to the dollar. Where are we here? Right. So we're coming lower. Obviously, yesterday we moved a little bit higher, but I think that ultimately the trend's lower. But I also think over the next, if you look at, guys, I'm just going to change screens here. That's all right. To Bloomberg. If we look at the dollar here, right? I mean, we've counted down to wave 5 and we had a 913.9. And this is basically where you and I were like, this is going to go higher. The chart's not on the screen, is it? No, it's off.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it? Oh, there it goes. Now it's back.
Yeah.
Then it came lower, and then we unlocked a wave 2, or now we've unlocked a wave 3 of potentially 5 higher. I don't know if that plays out, but you can see that the counts are all stacking up here pretty heavily. So in the event that the dollar does move higher to, let's call it 104, which DMARC wave count suggests, which seems a bit high to me, but nevertheless, this would unlock that corrective period.
Which is looking like August into September, maybe. We don't know the length of it yet.
Yeah. So that's why I was saying at MIT, the next move in the dollar is going to tell us everything that we need to know about, the ISM, when that peaks out, everything else. But I think whether this goes higher or not over the medium term, not even medium term, I should say over the short term, we still think it goes lower. The other thing I was just going to point out,
which sets us up for phase 3 of the banana zone. So phase 2 correction would be this. If it continues to trend sideways or a little bit stronger, that would be a corrective phase when everyone starts thinking it's all over, we'll give up now. And then we should get phase 3, which is the final leg in the dollar, potentially a leg lower in rates and the more speculative frenzy that comes at the last part of this.
Hi, Raoul here. Listen, I think we've got until 2030 before the economic singularity arrives. Now, it might not be the exact date, but it's around then. So we have about 6 years to figure out how to unfuck our future. I've put together a report to help you called Prepare for 2030. It's going to help you take the first steps in that journey to make sure you're secure past 2030. So just click on the link below and start your journey now.
Yeah. And just because I have this open, Bloomberg, and I'll let you pull up your charts, is I was looking at Solana vol levels today, just out of, but I also don't know why they cut. Did you notice that they cut our time series?
No.
Now it only goes back. I could have sworn it went back.
Do the XSO current, the other version of it.
I tried. It's the same.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway, but here's the point. Solana vol levels have collapsed to below 50. And so the last time that this happened, the last 2 times that this happened was September 27th of 23. And then Solana went on to basically 10x. And then June 24th of last year. And then we went up, around 100% or so. So that's kind of interesting because I hadn't realized that the vol stuff has collapsed so much.
No, me neither.
So I'll do the same. We can do the same for Bitcoin and ETH and look at a few other things for GMI. The other thing I think you were going to point this out as well is I do see a 13 daily on Bitcoin. The only problem I have with this is if we look here, kind of December time, liquidity was draining and city economic surprises had peaked. So, the 2 drivers, both if the market's priced off of consensus expectations, it now needs to reprice stronger growth coming in versus the opposite. And liquidity is actually rising if we talk about M2 versus the opposite, which was taking place here. what's your thought on this? I mean, because it has been, the market's been trading a bit.
Well, go to the M2 chart, and there's some wiggles in that chart that give us some clarity.
Oops, that's the wrong thing. Let's go here, all the way down.
You see, there's that nice wiggle that it's not uncommon to get a slight correction. Whether this correction runs further, I think it's just forming a flag.
Well, and also if we zoom in on this, so we come to, by the way, this has been working, as I said to you before the call, this has been working really well. But if we kind of zoom in on the same chart, I don't see why this would work that well. Right.
No, it shouldn't be working wiggle for wiggle, but it appears to be right now, which is weird as shit, and I don't trust it.
Yeah, neither do I. But point is that I don't think that this is unusual, and that 13 on the daily doesn't really line up with the other stuff that we're looking at. You know, like, and here's the other point is like, yes, Bitcoin's oversold. Yes, overbought. Yes, equities are also overbought. But again, the last 2 times we triggered overbought readings, this was the boring zone. Remember, the long, drawn-out boring zone. This was obviously Jan. But in both of these situations, you know, liquidity was draining. And here's an RSI overbought reading, and the market just went higher. Like, it feels much more like this than either of these 2 events. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just, I think everybody finds it frustrating because they want it just to go up every day or every week, and it just doesn't work that way. It goes in spurts, and if you miss those opportunities, which is why I don't like ever being out of the market, because you miss it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, with that, which I found really funny is, I mean, Bitcoin's up like 50% off the lows or whatever it is, 40 something. And then the market drops 2%. And people were like, oh, you know, is it over? It's like, guys, calm down, you know? And then let me just show you let me change screens, guys, to a couple of the charts here. And I'll let you share yours, which I guess you and I probably have a few of the same charts, but we might as well show mine first because they're usually better.
That's such a call.
But so this is the Bitcoin 1 hour chart, and looks a bit, you know, I mean, messy
it's either a flag or it's got another leg lower. It's either an ABC correction or it's a flag.
Yeah, I think it's a flag, but this is kind of the range that I would watch. This is what you and I were talking about earlier when you were on the plane to Little. Looks like an inverse head and shoulders, right?
Yeah.
And then when you zoom out,
same as the Tesla one. I'll show you that in a bit, but it's interesting.
And then if you zoom out, let me remove this. Like, this is still the big setup, isn't it?
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. And then XRP is boring, but this will explode at some point.
Yeah.
This still feels contextually like the right chart, but I think that maybe the hack kind of put it down a little bit below the intraday closing highs, which I would have preferred it didn't. But even if you draw it through the lows, it looks fine. I also think that it's really clear if you kind of just look at it like this.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, show me what you got.
Let's see what I've got. If you can stop sharing.
I will never stop sharing.
So I've been looking. Oh, fuck. That's not what I'm trying to do. So, firstly, Bitcoin dominance. This was try to get to the 9. It kind of would have been 9 that day. I put out that tweet saying Bitcoin dominance has peaked, and it peaked. It went up, put in another 9, and I think it's going to continue to fall from here. So that's like the start of the alt season. But really, it won't fall until we start getting below this kind of 61.5 level, something like this, 62. If it does that, then the much bigger game is at play, I think. I don't know whether that does. No, we kind of had a trend line here.
Well, if that's right, we just retested and push lower.
That's right. So that's one that's interesting to me. Solana, again, it's got this 13 like Bitcoin has. Looks like it's a wedge. There was that spike, but generally it was like this inverse head and shoulders, a bit of chopping around here.
next leg will be higher. When that is, whether we need to go a bit lower first. Sui was the kind of saying to me, if I actually go to my normal Sui chart, I mean, there's nothing much to say right here. I think this is some sort of flaggy pattern. This is obviously we have to ignore because that's spiking down and back up again. But somewhere here is some sort of just corrective pattern like we've seen a million times in the past. Doesn't yet look like it wants to break higher. So I don't know what's chopping the market, but maybe it's just the M2 chart that we looked at before. There's just a bit of chop to be had still, just as everyone starts getting really bullish because everybody's opening one of these new kind of MicroStrategy copies and everything else. So I think that ETH, I've not been using these charts in little for a bit, but ETH just continues to look good from every level. Where's my daily chart? That's the weekly. They're all fucked up because I've not been over here for a bit.
There it is. There's that inverse head and shoulders.
Yeah, the inverse head and shoulders is a bit all my scaling screwed. It all looks good. I mean, it's just rejected here. Maybe this all comes back down to 2,300 or so before then finally making the break. Doesn't feel wildly unlikely. And then because those are doing that, everything's doing the same. I mean, ETH Bitcoin, same. There's like an inverse head and shoulders here. Let's just move that. Somewhere here is like an inverse head and shoulders. I think, again, this is the classic sign of alt season. I think somewhere here, once it breaks this, then we're going back up here. And that'll be the start of something much bigger, I think, finally. And that's the classic sign of some sort of alt season. What else have I been looking at? So there's not really much to report right now. As you said, things are kind of in this corrective pattern. Doesn't look a long-term thing. It looks like it's kind of next week or something like that.
Yeah.
So we wait and see. On the other stuff, I mean, fuck me, our call on Hood was good.
Well, I was going to tell you, I mean, I was just looking at even the calls at the pro level. GMI got them sooner, so they're higher. But even at the pro level, Tesla calls are up 360%. Coin calls are up 115%. The Hood calls that we put in on GMI are up more than that. And even just the outright, right, QQQ edition at pro is up 14%.
Yeah, I know.
Big moves. But we got a Hood, that inverse head and shoulders there on Coinbase. That was big.
Yeah, and it still feels like a bit corrective and then the next move, because the chart in Hood, if we look at the weekly chart, is not in Hood, in Coinbase, is a very, very, very big inverse head and shoulders. And this chart pattern is a monster.
Yeah,
something around here. If we break that previous high, this level, I mean, this thing is literally going to 1,000.
Yeah.
So still super keen on that.
What's RecLab doing?
Rocket Lab. RecLab. Rocket Lab is doing beautifully.
Yeah, we added that as well. That looks good.
Yeah, I mean, we added it somewhere down here.
Yeah.
Now it's actually counting to a weekly 8. So maybe it pauses, but Rocket Lab's looking excellent. So if I look at the daily version, we're back up at the all-time high. So that was another great ad. We've traded that twice really well, actually. Tesla, just great. And it keeps doing this. This is like ETH, but it's actually broken through. Now, whether it fails to break through or not, I don't know. But again, it's just the Tesla chart just is so good. And the long-term one that we've used in the past, the log chart, is spectacular. So I still like those. Semis, that looks good as well. We just need to break a level and start trending higher from there. But semi, let's change it to the weekly. I mean, I don't see any reason why this just isn't this repeated.
Yeah.
does a bit of fucking around at the highs again, and semis will have another leg higher. Can't see a world that that's not going to happen, considering what is going on in AI right now. The other one is 10-year yields. 10-year yields on the weekly have gone nowhere. So everyone's all fretting and screaming and shouting about yields and the world's going to end. Nothing has happened. But when I look at the daily, we've got a chance that yields are going to, we've got this 13 and this 9, but we had no 13 there. Whether we come back down, it feels like more like 2017 where yields actually don't go anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I have been saying. And I saw the 9 as well on DMARC, and I feels like they'll come lower.
Yeah, that's possible. And the dollar, it tried to push higher yesterday, tried to push higher today, and it's just come smashing back down again. But the 9 and 13 count is something to take very seriously.
Yeah,
and again,
that's what I said.
It doesn't really. It's going to give us a signal for what happens at the back end of the year. But if we go back to that chart you were showing of 2017, it's kind of suggesting that, these corrective patterns eventually fall away. The market digests this huge move that we had. It's a monstrous move. And then we go to another leg lower where we think it probably goes to somewhere between 95 and 90. So again, there's nothing I see is particularly, well, certainly nothing in equity land is bearish. But we're getting at levels of all-time highs where you get a bit of congestion. That will make sense. Nothing in crypto concerns me in any way, shape, or form. It's just chopping around here. Feels like we're just going to be weaker for a bit, digesting various bits of news before we have the next leg.
Well, and it's also, just to put things into perspective, since our flash update on the 7th of April, the S&P 500 is up 22%. The Nasdaq's up 29%. Bitcoin's up, as I had said earlier, 46%. Solana's up 84%. ETH is up 93%. And SUI's up 116%. And now the market's overbought. That's all that's happening here. And the thing that I pointed out yesterday is that, when you think about like pure quant hedge funds, or whether they're momentum based or however you want to think about that, some of these funds go straight to net short on an overbought reading, right? So this is just profit taking. It's all it is. So the market's digesting the news. We're overbought. Certain people are, taking profit with the hope of buying a bit lower, whatever that is. So that's just why I think we're kind of chopping and people are waiting around for something to happen. But we're digesting a big move in markets.
And, it's really interesting to see how strong the ETH narrative comes back. And I've been saying it for a while, is like, people can write off ETH. They're ridiculous. ETH has enormous amounts going for it. And now we've seen this new MicroStrategies version by Joe Lubin of buying ETH. I also think the financial system uses ETH a lot more. And I think ETH outperforms Bitcoin all the rest of the cycle now. And that's not uncommon. So
if we're right about the ISM, then that's how it should play out.
That's right. And Solana should over time outperform ETH, but ETH's got catch up to do. So it's all correct. It will be corrective on that cross, but eventually Solana should outperform it and SUI should outperform Solana. I don't see any reason why any of that. In fact, I haven't looked at the SUI SOL chart a bit. Let me just share this. So this is the daily SUI SOL. This 13, I don't think actually is correct because it's below everything. Doesn't seem to make sense. So it looks like it's a corrective flag pattern. And then we should see the next push higher. So let's see if it looks any different than a weekly. No, I think this should be a corrective flag pattern. And then when we break higher, it'll be some sort of cup and handle or whatever. And that'll push us to the next level, back up to maybe the highs. So I think everything looks as expected. I think it's going to be boring for a few days. But let's see. Anything else you're thinking about?
No, not really. As I said, I did my kind of brain dump yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck we're going to write for GMI, but
I mean, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we got a call on that later.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I think that's it, guys. There's not much more to talk about. It's kind of everything's on track. Just a bit of overbought digestion. I think we should get that in equities at some point as well, because they've had this monstrous movement back to all-time highs there and thereabouts. You probably get a bit of congestion, a bit of profit taking, and then we get the leg higher. That leg higher should be all of June should be strong, all of July should be strong, August should be more complicated, which is what we've been saying, which should be phase two of the correction of the banana zone.
The other thing that's just before we go is the only other thing I wanted to say, which I think you and I were talking about before you were in Texas, was the fact that of how underweight institutions are on equities, right? That chart from the Bank of America Fund Manager Survey. So they're the most underweight since May of 2023, as I had pointed out yesterday. Speculators are still net short the S&P 500. And what I had said is, you and I both run money. And when you're underperforming, although you were at a hedge fund, I had a benchmark, but when you're underperforming your benchmark and you missed this rip higher, there's going to be serious FOMO once equities make new all-time highs to get into the market. Because that's why I think there's a limit to how much further the market can fall on that basis. But that's just, I just feel like these dips will, whatever they are, be bought, because there's still a huge amount of people that are short and not in the market.
Yeah, I think the other thing to bear in mind is that if there is a dip near all-time highs and the economic data is improving, that dip will be bought because it has to be by the institutions and the hedge funds. So that again sets us up into a very strong back end of the year.
Yeah,
just because of the positioning and how badly they've underperformed.
To have been sidelined on a 30% rip in equities.
It's huge. I mean, that's your whole fucking year's performance out the window.
Yeah, as I said in the video, I said bye bonuses.
Yeah, and there was somebody posted on X that I'll use for GMI, the skew. I mean, everybody's massively underweight tech.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, holy shit. What are they thinking? I just don't understand. You're in the midst of the largest technological revolution of all time and the fucking underweight tech. I mean, I've never seen such mid-curving in my life.
Yeah, I was going to say just that. It's just a massive amount of mid-curving.
Exactly. Good. All right, mate. Well, I'll catch up with you in a bit. And everyone, let's see what happens from here. But I think steady as she goes is the general idea. You'll get some more excitement and adrenaline probably next week sometime. So meantime, you can probably relax, touch grass, touch sand, or do whatever you need to do.
Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end. Look, if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button and check out the video here on the right-hand side. I'm sure you'll enjoy that one as well. And if you're ready for more, go to realvision.com/join. I'll see you there.